Alright, what's going on everybody? Welcome back to another video here on the channel, and today we are going to be talking about QuantumTV and his arrest. Now, this has been news for a couple days now. People have already talked about this a little bit. I've been seeing people, kind of reacting to it over the last couple days over on Twitter, and this is obviously pretty big news in the YouTube community. I feel like you kind of have to have some knowledge, at least on like some of the big public YouTube moments over the last year and a half or so to really understand why QuantumTV being arrested like this is actually significant in the first place. Now, I don't know if you guys remember this, but last year, I would say one of the biggest moments slash dramas on YouTube was a situation that involved QuantumTV and a YouTuber by the name of The Act Man. Now, basically what happened was The Act Man made a video reacting to a video that QuantumTV had made that a bunch of people basically hated. He made this video about Elden Ring. People disagreed with it. He was being flamed online for it. He got a bunch of criticism for making the video. Some of that criticism was The Act Man's video, and well, basically, QuantumTV gets butthurt about the video. He DMCA copyright strikes the video, and eventually the situation boils into this point where The Act Man is demonetized on YouTube. His career is basically put on a massive hiatus, basically all due to QuantumTV abusing the copyright slash reporting systems on YouTube, and this of course became a massive controversy for QuantumTV where pretty much everybody on YouTube ended up ganging up on this guy, and basically his reputation has been destroyed ever since, right? Like, most people now think of QuantumTV and they immediately think of that one guy who tried to actively set back copyright rules and whatnot on YouTube for his own use, right? So there's been, a ton of controversy surrounding Quantum ever since that moment, but now it turns out that QuantumTV has actually been arrested in the last few weeks for a felony charge too, so this is pretty serious. Obviously, if you know anything about charges and criminal charges, there's misdemeanors and then there's felonies, right? So a misdemeanor most of the time, right? At most it's 30 days in jail or something, right? Or you gotta pay a fine, maybe some community service, something like that. But a felony, man, that's a serious charge where that's gonna stay on your record for a long time. And a lot of felonies, obviously, they can make you go to jail for extended periods of time or ruin your ability to get other jobs and things like that. Now, you might be sitting here thinking, oh, well, does all this really matter since QuantumTV is a YouTuber, he's kind of his own boss or whatever? We'll kind of get into that and talk about that a little bit later, but first, let's go ahead and break this whole situation open because it's definitely a pretty interesting one. So, here we have QuantumTV's mugshot. Now, obviously, this is him, the guy from all of the videos. You might be thinking, oh, this is photoshopped and this isn't real, but no, this is 100% legit and genuine. Now, keep in mind when this whole situation first broke and people were on Twitter saying oh, QuantumTV is arrested and he's been charged with a serious felony, right? I was oh, of course, this is just some sort of troll. Somebody generated an AI screenshot or something, or they went in Photoshop, I don't know, but I didn't think it was real. But I mean, you can do some pretty basic research and you can actually find these details for yourself. They are 100% fully legitimate. I mean, QuantumTV has been arrested, and as we can see here, he was arrested on April 14th of 2023, so about 2 weeks ago now, with a bond set at $500 for a first-degree felony charge of domestic violence, more specifically obstructing justice, hinder with communication or whatever, I don't know. But it's essentially a domestic violence charge, a felony domestic violence charge at that. So QuantumTV unfortunately has... Now, these types of things, right, they can attain to a lot of different things, right? I mean, domestic violence, most people, when you think of it, obviously you think of a relationship or a husband and wife or something like that, right? That can be the case, obviously, and well, realistically, that is what the case is here, but of course, it can pertain to many different things. This case, though, it's not he was from what I understand of this charge, he wasn't beating on his wife or anything like that. This is more a preventing someone from reporting a crime kind of situation, so there is actually a full explanation that we're going to take a look at here. On April 14th, 2023 at 10:40 hours at whatever address in Seminole County, Florida, the date of birth, committed the offense of Florida statute or whatever 914.22(1)(e), obstructing justice, hinder with comm info to Leo, felony in the first degree, which is a domestic violence, by using his hands to intentionally deprive the victim, identified as, I believe, his girlfriend or wife, from calling law enforcement by snatching her phone phone out of her hands. This offense was subsequent to blank attempting to move funds from her bank account. Blank attempted to use blank's cell phone moments later, but blank deprived her from using his phone as well. Blank informed blank that she was going to call law enforcement if he did not provide her with cell phone, but blank refused to comply. Blank sustained small lacerations on her hands as a result of this incident. Blank refused to complete a sworn written statement and the domestic violence paperwork. Note, there were no other forms of telecommunications for blank to use in the residence. In an effort to call law enforcement, blank resorted to calling law enforcement from the leasing office. Blank are married and reside together as a family. I respectfully request that blank be placed on GPS impact. Okay, so from what seems to be of this whole thing, right, like from the story that we're hearing here, there was some sort of, disagreement or argument that the two were having, right, and situation, of course, boiled over as it does in situations where domestic violence occurs. I guess his wife was going to call the police for whatever reason at the time. QuantumTV allegedly, snatched her phone out of her hand and prevented her from using any phone on the premises so that she could call the police, which is a crime. Obviously, if someone wants to report a crime, you have to let them. I mean, you can't be out here, tampering with that, which is basically what the charge is, and basically, harassing witnesses to a crime and stuff. That's pretty serious stuff. She ended up not only being cut in a small cut, apparently here, according to the paperwork, but also was forced to call law enforcement from the leasing office of their apartment complex or whatever. So, I mean, this is a pretty serious allegation, you know what I mean? This is a very serious crime to be charged with. Like I said, felonies are not, something to just kind of play around with, something to just kind of brush off the shoulder, right? Like, this is a significant charge for a pretty legitimate crime. And I gotta say, man, if this whole thing is true and everything that played out in this whole thing right here is what happened, then I feel completely awful for QuantumTV's wife. I mean, this is a pretty severe type of abuse to go through. And I know people will say oh, this isn't abuse, blah, blah, blah. It's literally domestic violence. He got charged with it. It's a serious charge too. It's not like this is just some little bullshit, family argument or something. This is taking it too far. This is going beyond what you should reasonably behave like. And it appears that this was all because she attempted to move money out of her bank account, which, I mean, obviously is no reason for it to escalate this far, in my opinion. I think pretty much most people would agree with that, right? A money disagreement in a marriage is probably pretty normal, but it should never go as far as, people getting their phones snatched out of their hands and getting cut in the process, or it's just a really shitty situation. And it's unfortunate that, this is how it all went down and everything. I mean, even though, QuantumTV has done stuff that has made the YouTube community kind of turn against him and everything before all this happened, right? I don't want to sit here and, celebrate that this happened. Oh, QuantumTV got arrested. Woohoo! You know what I mean? At the end of the day, he did something to deserve being arrested, according to what the whole witness statement here is and whatnot. But ultimately, man, this is a sad situation, this is his wife being fucked with in a pretty cruel way by this guy. So honestly, I hope for her sake that it's completely different once this is all settled, whether that means she divorces him or, this guy goes to therapy. I don't know, however the situation may be. I just hope, she doesn't have to be in a situation like this again, because, I mean, domestic violence and those kind of marital disputes, man, they're shitty, they're ugly, and then when you see somebody behaving this way, right, it makes you fearful that it can be escalated even further, and that's what a lot of people online have been saying, oh, I'm surprised he didn't beat her or some shit like that, but ultimately it's a pretty important charge. And I know, you're probably sitting there thinking oh, Optimus, why have you been saying things like what he allegedly did? And, you've been kind of talking like you're sitting on the fence on this one. Well, that isn't for no reason, right? I'm saying this because, I mean, this is an ongoing legal process, not all of the details are 100% ironed out. And on top of that, QuantumTV has a history of targeting people who are critical of him with false copyright strikes, and now apparently he's also issuing privacy complaints against anyone who covers this subject with a YouTube video. Multiple other people who have covered the subject have already stated that they have had a privacy complaint filed against their video. Now, obviously, YouTube will review any sort of privacy complaint made against a video based on their privacy guidelines on the platform. I'm not violating the privacy guidelines by showing QuantumTV's face because this is public record. All of this information is publicly available. You can find it with very simple internet internet searches. I'm not revealing any personal details or information about the guy that isn't publicly available. In fact, most of, if not all of his actual private details have been completely removed. So if QuantumTV attempts to, copyright strike this video, or I guess file any sort of privacy complaint to, silence me from talking about this whole thing, number one, that just shows just how far this guy will go to cover his name with the most, disgusting, shitty things possible. But also, number two, it's probably gonna be a dispute that I end up winning anyway, so I guess he'll have to bring it on if that's the case. But I just wanted to talk about this whole thing because, this QuantumTV guy, he's been a big name for all the wrong reasons on YouTube for a while. And unfortunately now he's gotten himself in legitimate trouble with the law for a very shitty reason. And it's just something I wanted to cover for you guys here on the channel, man. So with that being said, thank you guys for watching. If you did enjoy, make sure to leave a like, subscribe if you're brand new around here on the channel. Follow me over on Twitter and Twitch at SubToOptimus. Make sure to check out Shoptimus down below. Thank you to my Watch Optimus subscribers. Your support helps the channel tremendously. And until my next video, guys, this is Optimus, talking about the QuantumTV arrest and signing out.